Hello, welcome to Selenium Minutes. In this video, I will show you how to store data from the web page into your script during recording, and then how to use that data during playback to perform validation of the results of your test case. Let's get started. Our test case will involve logging in, creating an employee record, then searching for the new employee record using the system-provided employee ID, and validating that only one employee record was returned by the search and that the correct record was returned by the search. The commands we will be using are open, type, clickAndWait, store value, assert Xpath count, and assert text. A little bit of background information about these commands. Open. In Selenium IDE, open is used to load the web page. Type. In Selenium IDE, type is used to enter text into a field. Click. It's a simple mouse click. clickAndWait. clickAndWait is actually a shortcut for two commands. It's a combination of click and wait for page to load. Click and wait can only be used when a click is going to cause the entire web page to completely reload. Store value is the command we're going to be using to store the data on the web page into the script during recording. Assert Xpath count. This is a very interesting command. It will allow us to count how many rows are in the table so we can validate that only one record came back when we searched for the employee by their unique employee ID. And assert text. Assert text is another validation command that is used to validate the specific text matches the expected text. Let's get started. Go ahead and open your Selenium IDE. We will be performing our test case on the demo human resource management system located at opensource.demo.orangehrm.com. The username and password for this website are noted on the screen. Press the record button and begin recording your test case. The first step is to log in. As I am interacting with the web page, the recorder is picking up my actions. The next step is to click on the PIM menu. Once we are on the PIM page, we want to add a new employee record. Click the big green Add button. Enter an employee first name. You can also optionally enter a middle name for your employee. And of course, a last name. As you can see, an employee ID has already been pre-filled by the system into the employee ID field. We want to be able to store this employee ID into our script during recording so that we can later use the employee ID provided by the system to perform the search by employee ID. To store the value into the recorder, you need to right-click on the field, go to the Show Available Commands menu item at the bottom of your context menu, and select Store Value. Right below that, there is that Store Text command. And some of you might wonder why in this case we use Store Value instead of using Store Text. I know that I need to use Store Value in this instance because I can see at the very end of the command the actual value I want to store. When I look at the Store Text command, there is nothing following the locator. If I use this command, nothing will be stored. Therefore, I am choosing Store Value, which will store the data I want to store. When we choose Store Value command, we will see a JavaScript dialog. This dialog is asking us to select a name for the storage container of our data. Because I am storing employee ID, I will also call my storage container employee ID. The name of the variable cannot have spaces. So in order to make your name a little more readable, feel free to either use underscores or a combination of lowercase and uppercase letters to delimit words. Now, we have a store value command that was added to our script, and the data in that field will be now stored into the employee ID variable. Go ahead and continue with recording of your script by clicking the Save button. Click on the PIM menu item again. We are back to the PIM page. Here, we are able to perform a search for the employee by the employee ID. Click inside the field and enter the employee ID that was displayed on the previous page. You only have to do this during recording. Once we perform the necessary changes in our script after recording, you will no longer have to modify the data. It will automatically be entered for you using the data stored into the variable. And click Search. The final step of the test case is to ensure exactly one record came back and that the correct record came back. So we need to ensure that only one row was returned, and we also need to make sure that the correct data are displayed in that single row. First, let's validate that the correct ID, name, and last name are displayed. Right-click on the ID and select Assert Text. Now right-click on the first name of your employee and also select Assert Text. And finally, right-click on the last name of your employee and select Assert Text. Notice that this time we're using Assert Text and not Assert Value. If you go to Show All Available Commands and compare the Assert Text versus the Assert Value command, you will see that in this instance, Assert Value has been grayed out and it is not an option we are able to use at all. Our only option is Assert Text. The last command that we want to be able to use to count how many rows are in the table is actually not available through the context menu. We will need to add it manually once we stop recording. So go ahead and log out, stop recording, and we will proceed to debug. The first step in debugging is to play back your script. However, in our case, we need to make a change to our script before we can successfully play it back. When we were recording our script, we created a new employee record. This employee record had a system-provided employee ID number. We stored this employee ID number into the Selenium IDE variable that we named employee_ID. Now, before we are able to successfully play back our test case, we need to remove all hard-coded values of the employee ID given to us by the system during the recording of our test case and replace it with the variable that we created in Selenium IDE. We need to do this because when we play back our test case, a new employee ID that is different from the previous one will be provided to us by the system. And so when we get to the assertions or to the search, we want to be able to use that new employee ID, not the original employee ID that was provided to us when we were recording the test case. In your Selenium IDE, select the line with the hard-coded value which you wish to replace with the variable you created. Select the value and remove it. Next, you need to put $sign and a set of curly brackets, and inside the curly brackets, type out the name of the variable you created. It is very important that the variable name that you type between the curly brackets and the variable name that you provided to the store value command are identical. The variable name is case sensitive and space sensitive, so every character has to be exactly the same. Again, do this for the second occurrence of the hard-coded employee ID value. Select the line, go to the Edit area of Selenium IDE, delete the value, type $sign curly brackets, and insert the name of your variable. While we were changing our hard-coded employee ID numbers and replacing them with the variable we created in Selenium IDE, you may have also noticed that our locators also have some hard-coded values embedded inside. The most prominent example is the assert text command, which uses the link in order to locate the element. This will cause a problem at playback because next time we play back the test case, there will not be a record returned by the search that contains this employee ID. Instead, we will be creating a new employee record, and that will have a new employee ID number. Therefore, this assertion will fail. In order to work around this small issue, we want to change the locator being used by the command. Selenium IDE makes this very easy to do. Select the command, go to the command edit area, and click on the drop-down triangle in the target field. Selenium IDE has stored several other options for us during recording. In this case, we will select the last option because it is the option that does not have the hard-coded employee ID embedded inside. Similarly, it is a good idea to do this for the employee first name and last name. It makes very little sense to find an element by text and then to check that that element has that text. It's redundant. Therefore, let's also select the first name assert text command and change the locator, and the last name assert text command and also change the locator. There we go. We are ready to play back our test case to see if it runs. Beautiful. Our test case has passed. Now to add the assert Xpath count command, which will be responsible for ensuring that only one record has been returned by the search. To do this, we will select the line in our test where we want to insert the command. Right-click and choose Insert New Command. Next, we will go to the Command Edit area of Selenium IDE and click the Command field. The command we will be adding is Assert Xpath Count. And as you can see, Selenium IDE is auto-suggesting it for us, so we can choose from the drop-down. Then, we need to provide a locator for the command, and of course, the expected result. Let's start with the expected result. Because the employee ID is a unique employee identifier, we expect to receive only one row back. Therefore, we will put 1. Next, we need to figure out which locator to use. In this case, the locator we will be using is //tbody/tr. Now that we made the appropriate changes, let's play back our test case one more time before we are completely done. And voila, we are done. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please click like. If you have other ideas for future videos you might want to see, please leave a comment